Instagram. Hey, welcome to the Art of Relationship Show, Wednesday edition. As always, it's 8 p.m. here in Metro Detroit. Hopefully, everybody's doing okay. And you are not a stuff from the Thanksgiving, or as I call it, the Day of Giving Thanks holiday here in the U.S. So, hopefully, everybody is being okay. Hey, V. Welchie, I appreciate you joining in. So this is where I would love people to be able to look at um, today's episode. As always, it's going to be a live Q&A, that type of situation, okay? So I want people to be able to be, open, honest, and I'm going to answer your questions as honest as possible, okay? Excuse me. And again, this does not replace actual professional counseling that I do in my office, but I'm going to give you the same type of tips and advice that I can with your questions out there. Okay. So, as always, you can join in the live chat. You can join the, excuse me, allergies are kicking a little bit. So I apologize. Okay. So I want you to be able to. Hey, Virginia, no kidding. I was wondering, I thought that sounded familiar. Hey, what's up? I hope life is good for you. So you can join in. I'm live on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, trying to think what else right now. Not TikTok, but Instagram right now. So I want you to be able to look at those situations and to be able to look at what prepares you to be married. Okay. I have a, what do you want to call it? Premarital course on my website as well. And I look at what is going on and to help you prepare for the marriage that you want for the lifetime. Realistically, right? No one is perfect. Nothing is perfect. Okay. I'm a realist, as people know me. My clients know me. I tell people all the time, I'm a realist and I don't want bad things or consequences to pop up. Not at all. But I want you to prepare for them if they happen. If they, something goes sideways with you, I want you to be prepared for it and to be able to look at, to help you manage that, to help you manage your life, your relationship, maybe your dating, and your intimacy level as well. Oh, I'm doing okay. I appreciate you, Virginia. No, I appreciate you very much. So I look at that situation and no, I'm happy. I hope life is going well for everybody out there. And I know with the holiday season, it's tough out there. And for those talking about, preparing yourself for marriage or preparing yourself to live together, what are your expectations you talk about, you go after? I have a couple of premarital clients right now. I do usually all the time, but in talking about looking at what is going on to help you have the relationship you've always wanted, okay? Maybe you're living together without wanting to get married. That's great. Terrific. And if you're living together, you want to get married, or you're not living together and you plan on getting married pretty soon, I want you to be able to look at the expectations of what a partnership looks like, okay? What are your expectations of, who the household chores, that type of thing when it comes to a partnership? What about finances? What about looking at, who's going to pay for what? Are both of you going to contribute equally to the finances, or do you have a different arrangement type of situation? Because everybody has different expectations when it comes to marriage, when it comes to living together, but you need to be on the same page. Because I get people, you know what? Hey, what was your expectation of a happy relationship or marriage? Did you talk about this before you got married 10 years ago, 30 years ago? Greg, we never did. We wish we would have. So I want you to be able to enter what that means to you as I trip over my tongue, right? Brain fart. But I want you to be able to look at the situation to, are you able to talk about this stuff? What are your expectations of sex? What are your expectations of, like I said, the household chores? What about if you decide to have kids? Are you both going to continue to work, or is one going to stay home and be a house husband, house wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, that type of situation? These expectations need to be talked about before you move in together, before you get married, because I don't want things to go sideways, okay? And also, when people first start maybe talking about living together, they talk about, excuse me, marriage, and it's like, oh, we'll work this out. I don't want people to, get it, oh, we'll work it out. I want you to be able to look at this situation to um, handle this before you move in together, okay? Because there's so many times I got countless stories over 2 decades. I've been doing this, helping couples, trying to reconnect, have a great relationship, heal after an affair, arguments, all that stuff going on. Hey, Steph, what's going on? I appreciate you tuning in. So I want you to be able to look at what are expectations of a happy, healthy relationship? Okay. I ask couples this all the time, new couples in my office, about what your definition is or what your expectations is. And this is going to help you to talk, to open up conversations, because if you're afraid to talk about these things, then that tells me that you're probably not ready to move in together. You're not ready to be married. Because if you are afraid to talk about stuff that might, cause one of you to get upset, to get angry, to be pissed off, you're afraid that it might hurt each other's feelings, that's not your intent. I don't want it to be your intent, okay? This is where I want people to be able to look at, you know what? That tells me, again, that you're not ready to live together. You're not ready to be married if you can't have those high talk. Hey, Tima, what's going on, man? I appreciate you. So this is where I want people to be able to look at and enter the situation about what your expectations are of a happy, healthy relationship first. And if these are not answered and talked about, discussed, I don't want you to run into problems down the road, but I want you to deal with them and to be able to look at, hey, what's it going to make us? Yeah, hey, Artem, I thought that might be you, man. I appreciate you tuning in. So these are, when you look at these expectations and you look at these before you move in together, before you get married, and you need to decide, hey, am I ready for this? Yeah, my heart, my loins, are excited. They're, I'm ready to move in together, ready to get married. Everything's great. But you never talked about what a partnership looks like. You never talked about how finances are going to be managed, who's paying what bills, right? Who's doing the yard work, who's doing the chores in the house, right? And not only that, do you even want kids? One person wants kids, the other one doesn't, but you're not talking about this stuff before you move in together, before you get married. And as always, people, join in the chat down below. Throw your questions out there. And it doesn't have to be about, getting ready to, say, premarital insights, right? It doesn't have to be when you're getting ready to move in with somebody or get married. It can be on anything related to dating, marriage, relationships, or intimacy, sex, right? So I'll do the best to answer your questions as easily and clear as possible, okay? So when we talk about what are your ideas about, let's talk about finances. Let's get that one out of the way, okay? So, who's going to pay the bills? Are you both going to be working? And are you both going to contribute equally? Are you going to do a 80-20 split, a 60-40 split? How is it going to work in your relationship or when you get married? Because a lot of people have assumptions, but they never talk about it until they get married, until they have a kid. And then what happens is, oh my God, I thought it would be this way. And the other one wants opposite. I don't want that to run amok, if you will. I don't want things to go sideways, because they will if you don't handle these up front. And it's so crucial, okay? So, also about finances, one person might be a spender, spend everything, right? Live for the moment. And the other one is saving every dime. I mean, literally every extra dime they're saving for retirement, the future down the road. Is that going to clash, or are you going to have a ebb and flow relationship? Will you be able to meet a middle ground when it comes to finances about who's going to pay for who? Now, and that goes for living together, marriage. I look at both of them the same, and these expectations are crucial, people. Now, when you talk about household chores, right? Who's going to do the cooking? Who's going to do the cleaning? Who's going to do the grocery shopping? Or even if you have groceries delivered, who's going to put the order in to have them delivered? That type of situation, right? Who's going to do the dishes, clean the toilets, the bathrooms, vacuum, sweep, dust? All those aspects that we take for granted, a lot of people will look at, and I hear it. Greg, you know what? You know what? I thought we would share everything. And the other one's like, I didn't think so. I'm the man. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not promoting that, people. That's not me at all. I'm all about a partnership. I'm all about equality, helping each other out, okay? And I know every situation is different, right? Like I've said on numerous other show episodes that one person could work 60 hours a week and the other one only works 10 hours a week, and you don't have kids. And the one working 10 hours a week thinks all the household chores should be equal. That's not fair, because the other one's working a lot more than you are. Let's be honest, right? So it doesn't work that way. And a lot of people want to stack the deck in their favor, but you need to be open and honest. And some people are afraid to be open and honest because, oh, that means they won't live with me. They won't marry me. And I got to hold this as a secret. Don't do that, because that's manipulative, right? You're simply lying by omission, and you're not being real. You're being fraudulent, okay? And that's not fair to anybody. And there's people that do that. There's men that do it. There's women that do that. And that's where I want people to understand about the expectations when you live together, get married. Everyone's thinking we're going to live together or get married. Everything's going to be great. Woohoo, terrific. And then you run into problems about how do you fold bath towels, right? How do you clean the toilets? How do you do dishes? That type of situation. Oh, I'm used to doing them this way. I'm used to doing them that way. And it's not a right or wrong. It's like whatever works. So, talking about household chores, and household chores can include also who's going to cut the grass. And here in Michigan in wintertime, who's going to shovel the damn snow, right? Excuse me. Or that type of thing. Who's going to clean out the gutters? Who's going to, if you have a dog, I have 2 dogs, so who's going to clean up the dog poo in the yard? Who's going to feed the dog? Who's going to maybe bathe the dog? Who's going to, water? All those aspects, are looking at, those are expectations that need to be talked about and, come to an agreement before you move together, before you get married. Big time, okay? So, and not only that, talk about finances, talk about household chores, but what else comes into play, right? What about sex? Let's throw that out there. A lot of people's favorite subject, right? A lot of people might, we're going to live together and we're going to have so much sex. We're going to have a lot more sex than when we're just dating, because we're going to see each other all the time. But then you see each other all the time and you're like, oh my God, I need a break. I need to get away from you for a minute, right? I need to, I need space, right? I'm not used to this, right? Some people never live with somebody, never maybe were married before, so they're not used to living with somebody, and everybody's different. Even if you live with multiple people over the years, everybody is different, right? So it's like I'm overwhelmed. I'm used to having my own space, and I feel overwhelmed, claustrophobic, and then that turns me off, And even though you thought that we would be having, intimacy, sex, oh my God, we're going to have sex every day, right? Ooh. And it's both men and women, right? Not it's, there's women that love it, men that don't. Everybody assumes, but I want to get rid of that gender stereotype big time. So you're living together and maybe all of a sudden you're expecting one thing or being married, right? And now it goes sideways. Now those expectations about intimacy and sex and what that means and represents to both of you is different. It's changed, and maybe the only thing that changes because you're around each other a lot. And not only that, what type of sex do you want? Not only frequency, like I talked about, but what type of sex does it mean to you? Hey, Aaron, Chaco, I appreciate you tuning in. Again, throw the questions down below. Anything I can answer, I'll do the best I can regarding dating, relationship, marriage, or intimacy, sex, if you will. Like I said, this does not replace actual professional counseling, professional mental health services that I do in my office, okay? Just want to throw that disclosure out there. But I'm going to give you the same type of insights and information to help you out there. That's my passion. I want to help as many people out there as possible to heal from the hurt and trauma, heartbreaks, and also to get more connected. And yes, it is possible even after an affair. That's mostly what I work with. I have for over 2 decades now. And it's devastating. It's not easy, okay? So I'll throw my website out there too. It's theartofrelationships.org. So you can check it out. And like I said, anything I can do to help you out there, let me know, okay? So not only, like I said, sex, talking about frequency, styles, what the meaning of sex is. One person, and it could be women, not just men. Oh, sex is just physical for me. It's unemotional. And there's guys where even for me, sex is emotional. It can be fun. It can be, what does that even mean, right? Or are you going to be okay maybe walking around the apartment, house, whatever you live together or get married? One person walks around naked all the time and it makes the other one uncomfortable. And these are all these expectations you want to talk about before you move in together, right? Before you get married. And like I said at the very beginning, if you have a hard time talking about these elements, these expectations, that tells me you are not ready to be living with somebody or to be getting married. You want to be able to talk about this big time before those things. That's part of maturity, adulthood, emotional maturity, okay? Nothing's perfect, that type of situation, okay? And these expectations are, they add a lot more to the mix, if you will, a lot more complications to the mix if you are getting ready to live together or getting, married, remarried, and you have kids from previous relationships, step family dynamics, right? I tell people, step family dynamics, there we go, that, maybe she has a kid or two, you have a kid or two, or maybe only one of you has a kid or 2 kids, the other one doesn't have any, and you're joining, it's still a step family. A blended family, and you hear that all the time, a blending family is usually one of you might have a kid each, and then you live together, get married, and then you have a kid together. So you have a blood related kid and step kids, right? So that would be more of a blended family, if you will. So I want you to look at, again, it's even more dynamic when it comes into co-parenting aspects, step parenting dynamics. And it makes it a lot more difficult. And that's where you need to be able to be even more expectations to talk about, even, for, step family, but even if you live together and you want kids, you get married and you want kids, parenting, are you able to talk about parenting, right? About even co-parenting, being partners in parenting. What are your expectations about, childcare, about parenting dynamics? Say one is more authoritative, the other one's more permissive, or one is, maybe a drill sergeant, right? authority figure type, and you clash, right? And how do you work together when it comes to parenting, and what are your expectations of parenting down the road? And that doesn't mean you can't learn and research and do your work to learn together. And a lot of people assume it's going to be this way, or you have one person that, say they're a counselor, they're in the field, right? And they're younger, or they want to get married, move together, have a kid, and they're trying to dictate, well, I'm a counselor and I know what's best. Well, not all counselors know what's best. I'm going to be honest out there. But it's not only your kid, it's both your kid together. So you need to be able to look at, when it comes down to parenting dynamics, discipline measures, right? What about feeding? What's the kid gonna eat? Some people are vegetarian, some people are meat eaters, and they clash. That type of situation. So there's so many. I don't want to scare people away from living together or scare you away from getting married. No, not at all. I'm telling you this so you can be more prepared, so you can have a successful, happy relationship or marriage, right? Not only expectations of, we talked about financing, sex, household chores, outside chores, maybe talked about parenting, that type of thing. What else are those? Hey, Scott, I appreciate you tuning in, man. But we also have to look at not only, those other aspects. What about in-laws, right? Other people's families when it comes to boundaries, right? And what are the boundaries that it's going to be you two against the world, okay? And a lot of people have a hard time with this, and I did a separate episode on this a while ago. So you can check out all my, recorded episodes on YouTube under at LoveGuruGreg. You can check out, I have probably 500 different I know I have at least 500 different videos on YouTube. That probably would be the easiest way to check them out. But talking about with boundaries with family, are you going to have an open invite? Anybody can come over, stop by without knowledge, without even any insight. And I'm like, oh, heck no. That's disrespectful, right? Do you have a call? And hey, you know what? We want you to call. Even if you're in the area, you want to stop by, you need to call, right? Maybe we're in the middle of doing the nasty, or, knocking boots, that type of thing. We're running around the house naked and you just stop by, peek in the windows, right? So those type of boundaries need to be in place. But some people are used to an open door policy, and a lot of people, hey, Kaylee, what's going on? It takes emotional maturity and a dedicated plan for the couple. Absolutely. But also, when it comes to the dedicated plan, people need to understand that it also can be flexible. When I talk about these expectations, you can be dedicated. You have to work together as a team and check in with each other. And this is where I'm going about being flexible, because you have this plan and you're thinking it's going to work perfectly. And then reality hits and life hits you. And what happens is that maybe it doesn't work anymore, or for one of you, it might not work, or maybe for both of you. And maybe we just got to stick to this plan. We got to be dedicated. And I'm all about that. It takes dedication and working together in a relationship, in a marriage, big time. But you also have to look at what might work now, later on. It might not work later on. So that's what I mean about you be dedicated as far as a partnership and what works now, but that might not always work down the road, okay? Kids age, life happens. So you have to be more flexible and look at and assess on a regular basis what is working, what is not working together, okay? Oh, I love it. Keely, I flexible with negotiation that is unique to the couple. And I know you're a very wise lady, and that's absolutely correct. I love that. Flexible with negotiation between both people and the couple, and it has to be unique because every person's different, every couple's different. I mention that on probably every episode of the Art of Relationship show. Okay. So when you talk about those elements and, with boundaries with in laws or family, friends, that type of situation, but also talking about expectations about quality time together. And what does that mean? Quality time. One person is a couch potato, one person hates being at home, right? That's probably going to not jive together that well. And you look at, how do you handle that? What is expectations about quality time? How are you going to spend your time together? And also, how are you going to handle disagreements? And people are going to talk about, oh, we love each other. We can't ever see us having a disagreement or an argument, Greg. And I'm like, talk to me in a year or two, right? Because it's going to happen. I told people, even though I've been doing this for, over 21 years now with couples, um, I'm a realist. You're going to have an argument. You're going to have a disagreement. How are you going to handle it? And that is one thing I tell people all the time. Are you going to yell? Are you going to scream at each other? No. Or are you going to go after? And I talk about questions of care and concern. Oh my God, all over the place. Okay. And as Killian mentioned about calmly, respectfully, absolutely. Right. And to be able to listen to each other. And when I go back to the questions of care and concern, are your expectations gonna be able to listen? Hey, why are you disagreeing with me? And it's not, why are you disagreeing with me? See, tone of voice, the words you use are crucial. Are you able to be calm? Are you able to be, respectful? And what are your rules? And I have a sheet I give couples that are rules of conflict, right? Are you going to not call each other out your name? If you start getting heated or an argument or it reaches a higher level, I want one of you to be able to say, hey, I want to hear you. I don't want to argue. Or, hey, can you talk to me, not at me? I want to listen. That would be great. And that will detour, not guaranteed to detour it fully, but that will greatly deter the chances for an argument and it going sideways. Okay. And hey, I don't want to argue. Give me a break, right? Maybe we need to take a break. I want to hear you. I want you to hear me, but we need to step back, take a break, and then come back and engage, okay, to try to handle it and resolve it. Because if there is no resolve and one person walks away, don't want to argue, comes back, and you don't ever talk about it again, that is going to build up. So, how you handle and what your expectations about handling challenges, difficulties, when you disagree, how do you handle conflict in your relationship? And this goes for all across the board, not only living together or when you get married, your expectations about that, but it's in a relationship in general, right? When you first started dating, Keely, fair rules of engagement. It isn't a battle or a war. I agree. How many people do you know out there, people? I'd love to see your hands out there. How many people out there know that it's not supposed to be a right or wrong, right? But how many people do that? Tit for tat. Client, couple I had before I left for home tonight, same thing. And I pointed it out. I said, whoa, stop. This is me. I can be blunt at times. Whoa, stop. What is this tit for tat shit? And that's how I talk, right? And they're like, what do you mean? I wasn't. I said, she mentioned one thing and then you just attack back with something that happened a couple years ago. I get it. You both want to be heard, but can you go one at a time? Can you be able to hear, hey, you know what? Let me work on this. Let me try to not get so angry often. Let me try to calm myself down. Yeah, I can work on that. And the other one, hey, is there anything that you feel like isn't healed yet? Yeah, I remember this time, whatever, and I felt like you blew it off. Oh, you know what? My apology, great. That would be dynamic to be able to heal it. Okay. And yeah, it is to win the fight, fighting to be right, not fighting for the relationship. And that is a huge dynamic. And a lot of people look at, and I'm not one that, and the women out there are probably going to want to slap me, but I'm not about the happy life or happy wife, happy life situation, right? It's a happy spouse's happy house, right? And what does that, or living together, you don't have to be married, like I said. So, I'm not a big fan of that happy husband, whatever, happy wife, happy house, because what happens if that wife is happy and their partner, man or woman, right, is miserable? That's not going to be good. That's not going to end well. And happy couple bliss. Yes. So those are elements that I want you to be able to look at and to be able to share in the dynamics about what those expectations are. Okay. And how many people out there, I'd love to see your comments or questions down below on Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're listening to or watching. What have you felt like your expectations went sideways? Maybe you didn't talk about them, but would go to a level of the end of you expected one thing and it went total opposite, or you and your partner at the time, or maybe currently, went to a situation. Went to a situation where you didn't even talk about it, and you're like, "Hey, what do we work on?" Hey, Larry, I appreciate you tuning in. What are you discussing? Right now I'm discussing expectations about what you should talk about, what you should have discussed and laid out and agreed on before you get married, before you live together. For me, doesn't matter. If you live together, get married, great. I want people happy regardless. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about right now, Larry. And also, it's when I do the Art of Relationship show, which is this. I always do a live Q&A, and you can always ask, questions, and I'll do the best I can to answer them regarding dating, relationships, marriage, or sex as well. And as you might not know, Larry, I'm a fully licensed professional counselor here in Metro Detroit, Michigan, and I have been for a very, very long time, over 21 years now. And my specialty is couples, relationships, sex, counseling, that type of thing. And also, a lot of people don't know, I also have a lot of grief and trauma experience. I used to, um, I used to specialize in severe trauma with kids, teens, severe sexual trauma. Mom would literally be selling or pimping out her 10, 11-year-old daughters, that type of situation. Okay. So that's where I want to be able to look at. So I have a lot of experience in those areas. I'm blue collar, worked for Chrysler for a while too. So yeah, any questions out there as well? Oh my God, on Instagram too. So that's where I want you to be able to, freely ask questions. I'm not judgmental, not biased, not at all, right? I want to help people. I'm looking at, people, most of what I work with couples, one cheated, both cheated, and yes, just as many women cheat as men. So you look at, that's why I do this, to try to prevent people from cheating, right? To get to a place where they're so unhappy they end up cheating, or they end up wanting a divorce, or breaking up, that situation. I want to do a preventative measure to be able to look at, I want to stop that. I want to try to prevent that. And of course, a lot of people don't reach out for help until, let's face it, one of them had cheated, both of them had cheated, or one person files for a divorce, wants to break up, or, you know what, you need to move out of my house, that type of thing. Or, I'm going to move out of the apartment. Or they're in a situation where they come home from work and their partner is gone. They cleaned out their stuff, had no idea, no clue. Yes, I deal with all this stuff, okay? I want to try to heal broken hearts, but the expectations are so crucial. Nothing is guaranteed, right? If someone tells you it's guaranteed, even in the professional counseling, mental health field, psychology field, they're lying to you. Nothing is guaranteed. but I try to stack the deck in your favor so you do have a healthy, happy relationship that will last a lifetime, people. And again, there are some things you could do everything perfect and you grow apart, right? One person becomes more religious and neither one of them were at the beginning, right? Or say they both were very religious and then the other one of them goes back in there, they become agnostic or atheists. Again, it's not a right or wrong. It just happens. So there's stuff out there. Love is a risk, okay? Living with somebody, dating somebody, it's a risk about your heart and your soul. But are you willing to take that risk without selling yourself out? And this is part of an expectation that is so huge that, when you live together, even dating or being married, that do you ever have an expectation that you will sell yourself out? Meaning, right? Talking about that you are going to live as a doormat. You are going to live where it's all about your partner and it's all about what your partner wants. Your partner makes all the rules, makes all the decisions, and it's all about what the partner feels and not about you. I'll never promote that. That's unhealthy. But a lot of people will look at, oh, yeah, I'll never have that. And then they live with somebody and then they get married. And then it turns into this situation. And all of a sudden you start selling yourself out and you hear people talking about, I say sell yourself out, but it's about losing your identity, right? In your expectations, make sure you also include your level of keeping self-love and self-respect for yourself before you get married and before you live together and what that even looks like, okay? So those are crucial elements and you need to be able to go after them and talk about them and to be open and honest and transparent. Like I said, if at the beginning and throughout this episode, if you are afraid or you can't talk about anything and everything about expectations, what you're looking for, how you like sex, all that stuff, that tells me you're not ready to get married. You're not ready to live together. And there's a lot of people, oh, we'll figure it out. Great, terrific. There are people that do that. I get that. I'm going with the percentages, okay? And I want those to be able to talk about and discuss. And some people, I'll do whatever he wants. I'll do whatever she wants. And I shake my head because I'm sad, because I'm wondering how long it's going to last before that resentment builds and then it explodes and then the relationship ends. I don't want that for anybody, okay? I want people to maintain their sense of self-love, self-respect, and be happy and have a great, healthy, happy relationship and marriage. Again, nothing is perfect. No one can expect when you live together and you have a child that dies. I told you, I work with trauma. I work with couples that have lost kids. I don't even want to go over the numbers, hundreds and hundreds over the years. And, life happens. That's why I said there's no guarantee. I don't want bad things to happen to anybody, but they do. People could have cancer, strokes, heart attacks. It's how you handle them. And nobody wants to talk about this stuff. And I don't want to talk about them, but I know they need to be talked about. What happens, say you live together and get married and one of you become incapacitated and can't work for an extended period of time. How are you going to handle that, right? And a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and then it happens, and then you're like, oh my God, what do we do? Oh my, we're going to handle it. And all of a sudden the resentment and the reality of it builds and builds. I want you to be able to talk about anything and talk about how you feel, right? How each other feels, what each other thinks without getting defensive. That is a great expectation to have, right? Is it realistic? Yeah, not 100% of the time. No, but I want it to be a high percentage of the time, okay? And also, those, if one of you gets sick, how is it going to happen? We don't want to, but a lot of people don't want to talk about the bad stuff. I don't, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about the consequences or talk about when bad stuff happens and how are you going to handle it. And we don't know. You could have everything lined up, like I said, and Keely mentioned in the beginning about growth and about flexibility and about when expectations happen, but the reality is you can have all these expectations and be prepared, and then life, the reality of life, living together, marriage, throws things off, right? Oh yeah, we prepared for everything, but I tell people I'm trying to stack the deck in your favor with these expectations. But what really helps as well is when you're living it. Let's be honest, okay? Saving Hope, I appreciate you tuning in. So check out my website, people. I'm going to say goodnight before my voice goes. I'm going to say goodnight. Check out my website, The Art of Relationship Show. Please, I'd be very flattered. Thank you so much for people joining in. Follow me all over social media, Love Guru Greg. YouTube is probably the best way to see all my videos. Like I said, there's 400 or 500 of them at least. So check them out, and I appreciate you very, very much for tuning in. And I do have courses on sale right now as well. Healing After an Affair, a premarital / early relationship course in 28 days to revive your relationship. And one more thought, Keely, I think we forget that the only way to build a connection is with healthy communication. Avoiding the tough stuff creates a pattern of neglect in a relationship. Thank you so much. No, I appreciate you, Keely, very much so. I appreciate you very much for tuning in. And believe me, all the support you've been giving me as well with the book and everything else. I'm very, very, very grateful, very flattered, okay? So good night, everybody. Peace and love to everybody out there. Bye-bye.